All right, everyone, buckle up. We're diving deep into the world of PowerBASIC today.
Yeah, and specifically, we're going to be looking at one of the most, fundamental things you need to know as a programmer.
Absolutely. If you're building anything beyond, like, the simplest Hello World program, you're going to have to deal with data.
Right, like how do you store information while your application is running, and how do you make sure that data sticks around even after the user closes the program?
Exactly. And that's what we're going to unpack today. We're using an introductory text on PowerBASIC as our guide, and we're focusing on how this language makes saving and loading data, well, surprisingly elegant.
It really is, yeah.
Now, imagine you're building, let's say, a game. Your players are earning points, leveling up, finding cool items, all this stuff.
Right, and you wouldn't want them to lose all that progress every time they close the game.
Of course not.
Yeah.
So how do we keep track of all that?
Well, the key is having an efficient way to store and manage all that data. And you know what? It's actually a skill that's useful way beyond programming, too.
Hey, really? How so?
Think about how you organize your files on your computer, or even how you sort your photos into albums. Having a good system makes all the difference.
Yeah, that's true. I'm always trying to keep my digital life organized.
Right. And PowerBASIC gives you the tools to create that same kind of organization, but for the data within your applications.
I like that. So let's talk specifics. Our text starts off by introducing the concept of arrays, which, if I remember correctly, are basically like lists, right?
Yeah, think of an array like a numbered list of containers. Each container can hold a piece of information like a number, a word, whatever your program needs.
Okay, got it. But what if you need to store more complex information than just a single number or word in each container?
That's where user-defined types, or UDTs for short, come into the picture.
UDTs. Sounds kind of technical. Break it down for me.
Sure, so it's actually pretty intuitive. It's like designing your own custom container that's perfectly shaped to hold all the different pieces of data that go together.
Give me an example.
Say you're building a program to keep track of student records. Each student has a name, an age, and maybe a balance on their lunch account.
Right.
So with a UDT, you could create a container called student that has dedicated slots for each of those pieces of information, name, age, balance, all nicely organized within that single UDT.
So instead of having like 3 separate arrays to juggle, we have one neat little package that holds everything we need about each student.
Exactly. It's all about keeping your data organized and easy to work with.
I can see how that would be useful. But, okay, we've got these UDPs.
Mm-hmm.
How do we actually save them to a file so we can load them back up later?
Good question. Our text walks us through a 3-step process. It's pretty standard stuff in programming.
Yeah.
You open the file, write your data into it, and then close it up.
Sounds simple enough. There's got to be more to it than that, right?
There is. What makes PowerBASIC interesting is the way it handles that middle step, the actual writing of the data. It leverages the power of binary files.
Binary files. Now, that rings a bell from like my intro to computer science days. But remind me what makes them special.
Sure. So at the most basic level, computers understand everything in terms of binary code, which is just a sequence of ones and zeros.
Right. That's how they think, so to speak.
Exactly. And binary files store data directly in this binary format, so they're super efficient for the computer to read and write. No need for translations or conversions.
Okay, makes sense. So how does PowerBASIC make use of these binary files?
Well, it provides these awesome commands, get and put. With put, you can write an entire array of UDTs to a binary file in a single line of code.
Whoa, hold on. A whole array all at once with just one line.
Yep. And when you want that data back, get pulls it all in with the same ease.
That's amazing. So we're talking like super speed data transfer, all thanks to the magic of binary files and these powerful commands.
You got it.
Now, the text uses the example of student records, but I imagine this could apply to, well, pretty much any kind of data, right?
Absolutely. Think about a game. You could store player stats, inventory, even the entire game world itself, using UDTs and binary files.
So you could use it for inventory in a game, tracking weather data for a science project.
Exactly. You name it. If you can structure your data, you can store it this way. The possibilities are seriously endless.
This is blowing my mind a little bit. There's so much you can do.
And it's all surprisingly straightforward.
Oh, and there was one other detail in the text that I wanted to touch on. It mentions that the command actually tells you how many records were loaded from the file.
Yes. That might seem like a small thing, but it's incredibly useful.
Really? Why is that?
Well, it's all about error handling and making sure your application is running smoothly. Let's say you're loading a saved game. If it tells you it loaded fewer records than you were expecting, That's a red flag.
Like a sign that something went wrong somewhere.
Exactly. It could mean the file is corrupted or there's a bug in your code. But having that information lets you catch the problem early and hopefully prevent a crash or, even worse, data loss.
So it's like a built-in safety check to make sure everything is as it should be.
Precisely. A small detail that can make a big difference in the reliability of your applications.
Man, who knew data management could be so, elegant? It all seems very streamlined in PowerBASIC.
Right, and we've only just scratched the surface here. The text hints at this even more advanced feature called the collections class, which takes these concepts even further.
Oh, really?
Yeah, collections offer a whole new level of flexibility and power when it comes to managing data.
Now I'm really intrigued. We'll have to do another deep dive on that topic someday.
Definitely. It's a rabbit hole worth going down.
Well, for now, let's recap what we've learned today. We talked about UDTs as a way to organize complex data, the efficiency of binary files for storage, and the almost magical power of those get and put commands.
It's really amazing how PowerBASIC makes something so fundamental to programming, something that could be really tedious, into something so simple and elegant.
It is. And I think the big takeaway for me is that with the right tools, managing data doesn't have to be a headache. It can actually be kind of fun.
Absolutely. So to our listeners out there, now that you've seen how easy and powerful data management can be in PowerBASIC, what kind of applications are you inspired to build? What problems can you solve? Let your imagination run wild, and remember, the potential here is truly limitless. It's been fun.
It has been fun. Thanks for joining us, and happy coding!